Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Your Birth Bestie podcast. This is day 2 of the special 5-day series about overcoming hospital fears to celebrate 6 months of Your Birth Bestie podcast. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Your messages and reviews have meant the world to me, and I'm so excited to continue providing you with content each week on this podcast about pregnancy and birth. So just as a quick reminder, I am doing a daily giveaway this week to show my appreciation for you. Each day, one lucky listener who reviews the show and shares their favorite episode on Instagram stories, tagging me at BethConnors_CNM and DMing me a screenshot of the review will win a $50 Amazon gift card. I would love to hear which episode is your favorite. And with that, let's talk about today's topic, which is probably the most talked about fear that I have encountered with expecting parents planning a hospital birth, and that is the fear of medical interventions. Hey there, I'm Beth Connors, a midwife and mom of 2, but also your birth bestie. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into everything you need to feel confident, prepared, and in control, from baby bump to delivery room, from practical tips to personal stories. We'll cover it all so you know exactly what to expect every step of the way. Let's get into it. So in my experience, it is most common for moms to come to me after having a bad experience at one of their prenatal visits where their provider is recommending tests or procedures with little to no education or support, or they are newly pregnant and are reliving their traumatic first hospital birth, or not sure what they're going to do to be sure that they don't relive that same experience. And I just want to say flat out that unfortunately, yes, this is something that you should have on your mind if you are planning a hospital birth. It is so common for providers to rush birth along and push interventions that are often not evidence-based, sometimes just for convenience or due to quote-unquote hospital policy. This is why so many moms fear intervention, because they don't know who to believe or what is actually necessary or what are the true risks to consenting or declining a certain recommendation. And this is absolutely a confusing place to be. And I'm really just so sorry that you are probably not getting enough time at your prenatal visits or helpful resources to get all of your questions answered. Whether it's the fear of being pressured into interventions that you don't want, or the fear that you won't receive necessary medical care when you need it, these concerns are absolutely daunting. And I think it's important to mention that medical interventions can actually be necessary in certain situations to make sure that you and your baby are safe. However, the fear of unnecessary interventions is also valid. I think that the best place to go from here is learning how to find a balance between informed decision-making and trusting your healthcare team. So to help you address these fears, let's hear from some moms who have navigated this journey recently. And all of these new moms recently completed my online course and had their babies actually this summer. So first, I want to talk about Sarah, who successfully had a hospital birth free from any unwanted interventions. She said to me, "I was determined to avoid unnecessary interventions, but had already found peace that if I needed medical assistance, it was going to be okay." She also said, "What helped me was using the prompts in the course to talk with my doctor about my birth plan. We went through a few situations where they might recommend intervening, but it made me feel much better once I voiced my concerns and my doctor knew how I felt about my plan." So this conversation with your provider is crucial to avoiding medical intervention. I can tell you right now from my experience in the healthcare system, most often doctors and midwives won't hand out controversial information or options to invite a long conversation. It's not that they don't have the answers to these questions. It's that they don't have the time in that 15 or 20-minute prenatal visit to go over all of these things. This is why knowing all of these things ahead of time and doing your own research and figuring out what you want on your own and actually why is so helpful to maximize your prenatal appointments in that short time that you do get. You can go to each visit discussing a new scenario or part of childbirth where you want clarification and present what you actually want to happen and see if there's any pushback. And if there is pushback, then you can discuss that concern with your provider and see how supportive or unsupportive they are, and then better understand what challenges your ideal birth plan will come up in the moment. And you'll know that ahead of time if there is anything that goes against what you want. And the goal here is that with continuous conversation and preparation, you will be more than ready to have your baby in the hospital with the control that you want over your experience. Even learning when and why certain procedures or interventions might be recommended can ease your anxiety and also allow you to prepare ahead of time for those situations, to have extra time to make choices rather than in the moment decisions without any thought at all. Another mom, Lisa, who I worked with, she said, "My goal was to learn about benefits and risks of every intervention. My doctor wouldn't give me the time of day to go over all of those things, so I took it upon myself to figure out what was best for me. Understanding the reasons behind medical decisions helped me to ask questions and make choices I was comfortable with during my labor." And I think it's absolutely true that when you have knowledge about interventions, you can better advocate for yourself and make decisions aligned with your birth plan. It's also really important to have a supportive birth team, whether it's your partner or a doula or a trusted friend. Having somebody by your side who understands your preferences and can help communicate them can definitely be reassuring. So, if you have a fear of medical intervention during your hospital birth, here are some actionable steps to consider. Talk with your provider often and bring a lot of questions to prenatal visits. Start creating your birth plan early on so you have time at the end of your pregnancy to really figure out all the details and what you actually want. A birth plan is not set in stone. It is 100% fluid and can change at any point in your pregnancy if your thoughts or values or any decisions or medical care or conditions change. But having a place to write down your ideas and be a guide for questions to ask during those visits is something that I definitely recommend. Also, sign up for a childbirth class that covers the pros and cons of interventions so you have all of the information and all of the confidence to make those decisions. Surround yourself with people who support your birth plan and can advocate for you if needed. When you're in labor, you should be focused inward on surrendering to labor and coping with those contractions. That it's definitely a bonus to have someone else be your advocate with you and be a second set of eyes and ears to make sure that everyone is supporting your wishes during your birth. And really just remembering that it's possible to have a low intervention hospital birth while being prepared for any necessary medical interventions that may happen. Trusting your instincts and communicating openly with your healthcare team and staying informed will definitely empower you on this journey to having the birth experience that you want. Thank you for joining me on day 2 of our 5-day series. Tomorrow we'll tackle another common birth fear, the fear of pain during labor. So don't forget to enter our daily giveaway by reviewing the show and sharing your favorite episode on your Instagram stories, tagging me at BethConnors_CNM. You could win a $50 Amazon gift card. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.